Hey everyone, the mini Super Nintendo, we now have a price, we have a release, and I'm actually surprised by it. First and foremost, hopefully Nintendo makes a decent amount of them. I have extreme doubts if they're going to be able to do that. However, the game list for it is actually quite impressive, and I'm very, very happy with it. Of course, there could be more games on it. There could always be more games on it. I think there's 21 total. I want to go over the list and talk about it. I'm hoping to get a hold of this one. I never got a hold of the NES Mini. I was not able to find one, and then the prices got skyrocketed. And I have all the games on the NES Mini, like actual cart versions of them, so I wasn't as hard pressed. This is a little bit different though because of some of the stuff involved. So there may even be people that own some of the games, but may want after this because of some of the other stuff on here, including one very special thing being included in this. So let's go over this. The Super Nintendo Mini, or the SNES Classic Edition, will be available September 29th. It's going to be $79.99, $80. And it will, of course, be very similar to the NES Mini. It's going to be HDMI and all that good stuff. So, okay, here's the game list. And we have Contra 3 Alien Wars, a great Contra game, one of my favorite Contra games. I don't know which one, if I like Hardcore better than I like Contra 3, but both great games. The Hardcore is the Genesis version, if you didn't know. Great game, though. We're going to get Donkey Kong Country 1, one of the all-time greats, though it's not Donkey Kong Country 2. That's the only thing that I was like, I understand, like, if we're only going to put, like, certain, like, one game representing each series, I could understand that, but I would think you would put Donkey Kong Country 2 on it instead of putting Donkey Kong Country 1. That would just been what I would have gone with it. But I love DKC 1, DKC 2, and even DKC 3, so all three of them would have been fine. I wish we had all of them, but DKC 1's still a good choice. Earthbound, though. Earthbound is on here. Yes, it is finally on Virtual Console on both the 3DS, Wii U Virtual Consoles. You can get it. Finally, I've had a cart forever. I love Earthbound. It's one of the best RPGs of all time. I'm a big fan of the Mother series in general, but that's an awesome inclusion, considering it's still hard to get it. And if you didn't have a Wii U or you don't have a 3DS, I don't know, maybe you have the Switch currently, or, you skipped the Wii U. I don't know, there's an opportunity here. So Earthbound, very cool inclusion. And along with Earthbound, Final Fantasy III, arguably, for many, the best Final Fantasy game to ever come out. Now, this is Final Fantasy VI in Japan. We're getting the Final Fantasy III, aka the North American Super Nintendo version of this title. My personal favorite, in a lot of ways, Final Fantasy. I love, there's a few other Final Fantasies that are close to it, but as far as the old school and the very first Final Fantasy I ever beat, it is Final Fantasy III, aka Final Fantasy VI. So that's an awesome inclusion. It would have been nice to have the other Final Fantasies as well. Like, don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy II is great, as well as, I actually like Mystic Quest. I know, no one in their right mind likes Mystic Quest, but I actually personally do like Mystic Quest, so I would have liked to have that as well. We also got F-Zero, one of the launch titles for the Super Nintendo when it came out. A great little fun little single-player racing game. Unfortunately, there's no multiplayer with that one, though the Japanese version did, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, we're going to have the North American version of F-Zero. Not a rare game by any means, but still very fun, and was great at showing off what the SNES was capable of when that system originally launched. We have two Kirby games, interestingly enough, because, just most series are getting, one, maybe two representatives, but with Kirby, we got Superstar. For many, the best Kirby game ever made, arguably the best Kirby game ever made. Personally, I like Kirby's Adventure as my favorite. Everyone's going to have their favorites, but I'm a big fan of the Kirby series, and if you're going to pick the one Kirby game to include, this is the one you want to have. And then we're also going to have Kirby's Dream Course, which, if you've never played it, is basically Kirby meets mini golf. Kirby turns into a ball, and you actually have to aim him, and there's still power-ups involved. It's a very challenging game, especially as you get farther in. It's a personal favorite of mine. There is multiplayer in that, but and there's multiplayer in Kirby Superstar as well. But a very, very fun game here for this. It's maybe one of the more oddball titles to be included, so I'm sure some people will be like, why is this even on here? But I like Dream Course, so that's not a big deal. Link to the Past. We got Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, that's thrown on here. Once again, another one of those ones where it could be argued the best the series ever saw. You know, it's this, is it Ocarina? A lot of people nowadays is Breath of the Wild. But, you know, like, you know, and there's only one Zelda title on Super Nintendo outside of the, you know, Satellaview Japan-only releases, like the only one North American Zelda game, so that's included, of course, and it's one of the all-time greats. Mega Man X, my personal favorite of the entire X series, one of the best Mega Man games of all time, great inclusion here. Secret of Mana, another great game, a great action RPG. And, you know, of course, I would have loved to have, like, a translated version of Second Densetsu 3, aka Secret of Mana 2, the sequel, The Secret of Mana, that we never saw here in North America. Great game, though, but at least we're getting Secret of Mana is here, so that's another great inclusion, another Square Enix game. So, or Squaresoft game, but, you know, now Square Enix. So that's here. We have Star Fox, one of the best looking as far as, like, 3D, like, capabilities. Like, I mean, I'd say best looking. It's polygons and more polygons. For what it was able to do back on the Super Nintendo, it was impressive at that time. But it's still a great game and the first of that series. But the big surprise was Star Fox 2 being included here. Star Fox 2 has never been released, ever, as an official, like, release. Like, it's never officially been released. There has been a prototype, basically the 100% completed version of it. It's been available and has been patched, and you can buy repro carts of it. But as far as an official Nintendo release, we haven't seen it. So that being included here is worth it for some that want, like, an official Nintendo, like, supported version of Star Fox 2. You have that here, and it's actually a pretty cool game. If you've never messed with it, some of the elements we actually see in the newest Star Fox, even though that's not a very good game overall. But anyway, Star Fox 2 here. Great to see an unreleased title. That was a complete shocker. We have Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting. There's a lot of Street Fighter 2s on the SNES and of that era. A good one to have included here. A nice fighter. I don't really think there's many other, if any other, real true fighting games on this. So that's a nice one to have on there. Super Castlevania 4. One of my, if not my personal favorite Castlevania game that was ever created. It was a beautiful looking game with some of the best music of its era and time. Love Super Castlevania 4, so that's a great inclusion here. I'd rather have, if I had a choice between this and Dracula X, which was the other SNES release, I'd much rather have this. So glad that that one's included on here. Super Ghouls'n Ghost, a really challenging game, but a great one. Another really fun one for sure. So Super Ghouls'n Ghost is another cool one. We have Super Mario Kart. One of the best multiplayer games, or just one of the best racing games the SNES ever had. A lot of fun, even to this day, even with annoying rubber band physics for the AI. But still, Super Mario Kart, it started that whole series, another good one. Next up is Super Mario RPG, another great game, an all-time classic. It helped a lot of people get into RPGs. It did, like, the beginner's JRPG a lot better than what Final Fantasy Mystic Quest ended up doing. But I love the game. A lot of people love this game, and always wanted a true sequel. We never got one, haven't got one, at least not yet. But yeah, Super Mario RPG, an absolutely fantastic game. We have also Super Mario World, one of my personal favorites, probably my personal favorite Mario game, maybe ever. Like, love Super Mario World, one of the best 2D platformers that ever came out, and it was a launch title for the SNES, and it was like one of the best games the SNES would ever end up seeing, so that's awesome to have on here. You also have Super Metroid. For a lot of people, this is their favorite Metroid game. For me, I was always I'm more nostalgic towards Metroid 2, which they're remaking later this year, which I'm looking forward to. But Super Metroid is just an amazing game, and another great one to have on here. It makes sense. A lot of these games that are so fantastic are Nintendo themselves, so it makes sense for them to be on here, but still cool that we do get them. We also have Super Punch-Out, and while for a lot of people it's not quite as fondly remembered as the original Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, even though that wasn't the original, Arcade was, but still, like, Super Punch-Out is one of my favorites, and one that I go back and replay a lot, just like the original Punch-Out, so another cool one to have on here. And then there's also Yoshi's Island, which is Super Mario World 2, but another great platformer. It used the special chip in the cart to just amplify and to be, allow the SNES to play the game. Just had great sound quality for the time and had great visuals. That art style was awesome. Just absolutely great games that are part of this. I mean, honestly, you could argue, like, what's the worst game on here? Maybe F-Zero, Street Fighter 2 if you're not really into it? Like, there's not really a bad title. It's a much better lineup, I feel, than the NES Mini. I thought the NES Mini had a few not as unbelievably stellar titles as the Super Nintendo Mini is going to have. Yes, I wish there was more games, but I still think overall it's still a pretty cool system and package for what it is. It's no surprise that Nintendo's doing this. I do hope they stock it better. I'm sure they won't. But let me know down in the comment section below, what are you most excited for? What's your favorite game that's a part of this? And were you able to get the NES Mini? And even if you weren't, are you going to get this? Are you going to hunt to fight people? You're going to like fight to the death to get a hold of this? Are you willing to do it? Do you want a hold of this thing? But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed.